Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Gyan Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasthya Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Upashama Prakarana, section 76. The topic is crossing the ocean of the world process. World process means cycle of birth and death. It's easily said, but it involves all that we hear about the world, all that we imagine, all the extensions of so many lokas you can attain. All that put together. Ocean is not simply a little simple mass of water. It contains lots of things. It has undercurrents, it has whirlpools, it has many things. So Bhavasagar, that's the way the world is presented in an allegorical way. Soul trapped in the Bhavasagar, that's a state of bondage. And Bhavasagar becomes a Bhayasagar, ocean of fear. You are haunted by kleshas, ignorance, egoism, attachment, hatred, fear of death. And mortality virus is the greatest virus. The project is how to cross over this Bhavasagar or the Bhayasagar, ocean of fear, and enter into Ananda Sagar, ocean of bliss. Now we have to arrange for a ship, a captain, captained by the intuitive intellect. Viveka Buddhi is the captain, what's known as Sanamati. Understanding is the key to your spiritual evolution and for crossing over the ocean of the world process. But not ordinary understanding, understanding coming from pure intellect. That understanding, simple way to say, is that I am not the body. See, I am body, mind, intellect, I am this mortal personality. That's limited, erroneous vision. Emerging out of this illusion, Braham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Brahman alone, non-dual, absolute. That revelation and being profoundly established in that realization, that's the goal of life. So, Viveka Buddhi is like the captain. Prajna or wisdom is like the big ship. And with this, all this setting, one goes across the ocean of the world process. But those who do not take recourse to this ship are indeed dull-witted. O Rama, having inquired into the nature of the self under the guidance of liberated sages, you must discover the illusoriness of the world and reality of Brahman. Then this ocean becomes a source of great joy, existing only for divine sport. Lots of insight are put together. Vasistha says to Rama, practice of inquiry, that's the golden key, the magical key, leading the soul to that revelation, Aham Brahmasmi. But inquiry, called vichar. Vichar cannot be practiced by your intellect unless your intellect has been well purified under spiritual guidance. Spiritual guidance is most important from the right source. Even if you want to learn music, you have to have the right type of musician. Can't learn music from the howling jackals. There are many teachers, howling jackals, telling you so many promises. So in that type of wrong guidance, your vichar will not be successful. With proper guidance, practice vichar, inquiry. Who am I? I am neither body, mind, senses, intellect or ego. None of this am I. I am Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. I alone am. Look at the world with countless reflected suns. Every reflected sun is in a state of turmoil, no matter how wonderful it may be. And it cannot stay permanently secure as a reflected sun. Its goal is to discover, I am the sun. But in that discovery, an amazing revelation that there are no countless reflections. It's only one reality. If you count reflections, there is endless. But that counting state is through deluded mind. Through enlightened mind, you don't count the reflections. The sun alone is real. So among countless jivas, souls, evolving through the world, the reality is Brahman, I am Brahman. And when that is realized, now this ocean of the world process becomes a form of sport, a divine sport. You go through all the experiences brought about by your mind and senses. But all the experiences brought about by mind and senses are like clouds that create a lot of drama. But the I am is the sky. that I am is never affected. So therefore now, the sky is not threatened by clouds. From a sky state of vision, all clouds and all their thunder and rain and all their jumping and dancing, all that is just a sport, a fun. You must realize this is the goal of life, you see. And it is not a simple message that from tomorrow we just get into that state. O Rama, in the beginning, one must subdue the senses by the force of dispassion. In the commencement of discipline, Viveka and Vairagya have to be practiced day by day. Vivek and understanding the difference between the paths that will lead you to liberation and the path that keeps you deluded. Shreya and Preya. So that type of purification must occur in your intellect that goes on inspiring you to follow the path of Shreya, the path that will open the door to enlightenment, not keep you in a state of karmic bondage. And as Viveka develops, Vairagya develops at the same time. So if you practice Vairagya, you get Viveka. You get Viveka, you become more mature and strong in Vairagya. So Vairagya and Viveka are interdependent, supplementary and complementary. So, in the early state, when you are not in an advanced state, you must follow the discipline of Abhyasa and Vairagya. Do not let your mind just wander. After the enlightenment, the movement of the senses in objects needs no restriction. When you have deeper maturity of understanding, your senses can have different experiences of all types of things. But you are untouched. Further, your mind and senses are guided by intuitive intellect. So therefore, you are not going to create negative karma or being trapped by karma because of the operation of your mind and senses. Because their movements, they are no longer under the domination of the unenlightened ego. In one who attains spiritual knowledge, intellect and spiritual effulgence continue to increase in the same manner as beauty and fragrance continue to increase in the spring season. As your intellect becomes more and more intuitive, your personality becomes like a blossom, a mystic blossom. And it continues to waft fragrance. Sarvabhuti hite rata. Continues to create a mystic environment that impacts upon countless souls, inspiring them to follow the path leading to liberation. Just like the spring season, the moment it enters the forest, the entire forest begins to be transformed. Every leaf, every blossom, every tree is emanating a kind of thrill. And therefore, that ideal has to be understood. Liberation, your path leading to liberation, is not just helping you to attain enlightenment. But as you advance, whether you are personally involved or not, your existence, your thoughts emanating from your mind, your heart that is sending out, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, may all be happy. All this is like wafting of the fragrance. And they go on impacting upon countless souls. Section 77. A garland of heavenly virtues that adorn a sage. Here, heavenly virtues are not just giving you ordinary account of virtues like forgiveness, compassion, and so forth. They are all implied, but what is being brought into in this, the characteristics of spiritual enlightenment. Those characteristics are the virtues that adorn a sage. Sri Rama asked, O sage, please describe to me the glorious qualities of the sages who have attained enlightenment. Though I have already heard your glorious words on this theme, yet I would like to hear more and more about it. That's the quality of a good aspirant. Ears never become filled up. The listening, practice of listening, makes your day a day of joyous adventure, a day of spiritual strength and increasing spiritual enrichment. But listening doesn't all imply or only relating to sound and your ear. Listening is impacting upon your understanding. Listening leading you to be deeply involved with the wonder of wonders, that you are not the body. You are that self, which is the only reality in the entire universe. Listening that leads your soul to discover spiritual strength, Shakti. Places a royal road before the soul called Bhakti, devotion to God. And finally, leading to liberation. Sri Vasistha said, O Rama, I will again explain to you those glorious qualities which adorn a sage. How do they adorn? Even like a garland of heavenly flowers. He who has cast out of his mind all the subtle desires for the objects of the world, in other words, he who has purified the vasanas from malina vasana to Shuddha Vasana, from impure vasanas, mind burdened by an unconscious, subconscious pressure. So as long as you are burdened by the subconscious pressure, your mind cannot really open the channel for enjoying divine presence in daily life. Your vasana restricts. God's presence is everywhere. Purnamidam. God is full. This whole world is constantly exploding with God's glory. But led by vasana, all that glory is shut out. But when these vasanas become sublimated into Shubha Vasana, if you possess Shubha Vasana, what will be your experience? A sleep-like state of inner serenity, even while performing actions in this world. All activities will go on, but your inner settled state of your inner experience is I am Brahman. As if you are in deep sleep. Just allegorical, not mix up sleeping with samadhi. He who has attained the knowledge of the self possesses a mind that is steeped in bliss. Spiritual process is effective when you notice that your mind is not constantly dominated by sorrow, negative feelings, terms as vichar, a kind of, as if you have taken a bit of poison. Vish is poison. Ad, in a ginger, somebody gave you poison, and you gingerly took it. So that type of mind is constantly attacked by pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow. But now, for the enlightened sage, the mind that he possesses is constantly experiencing joy. It becomes inundated by spiritual bliss. And our ordinary happiness and bliss, there's a big difference. Happiness is that which will come and go. But bliss cannot go in spite of the whole world men go on hiss. The entire world becomes an ocean of bliss in which a sage continues to sport. The world becomes, through enlightened mind, this world is nothing but Brahman. So therefore, what you read in the Gita as Vibhuti Yoga, see the Vibhuti of God, God's glory manifesting in every flower, in every blade of grass, in all the elements. You are surrounded by divine glory, not only from outside, from inside. How elements are operating through your own body. And behind all that operation, there is a divine hand. So there is no room for grief. There is no room for being attacked by sense of mortality. The entire world becomes an ocean of bliss in which a sage continues to sport. But that's his subjective state of experience. In the practical world, his personality will have the same qualities like the personalities of others. Quality implying the body. The body of a sage will age, hairs will turn grey, teeth will give trouble. I'm just joking, but simple points. All the troubles that anyone can face bodily, they are all, sage's body is same as anybody else. And we have all illustrations. Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Vivekananda, even Shankaracharya. They all went through bodily ailments. But those ailments did not diminish their spiritual wisdom and their mystic way of radiating the joy of wisdom and influencing countless people. That didn't stop. In fact, the body of a sage and his outer personality becomes exemplary for the masses. Though perceiving the objects of the world with the help of the senses, seeing with the eyes, accepting objects with the hands, a sage neither sees them nor accepts them. All the operation that occurs in the world of time and space, they are like dream occurrences. And if you know that it is a dream, sometimes even in your dream you come to realize it is a dream. Once you know it is a dream, you continue to see adversity, prosperity, continue to see joyous events coming in your dream as well as very tragic conditions. But if you have that awareness it is a dream, you smile at both of them. That's called Leela. The same dream becomes a Leela when you realize it is a dream while dreaming. Your own body continues to play its role. And you know that you are not that body. That's simple to understand. In your dream, you go through all turmoils, wake up, and discover you are not the one. The dream subject was not you. What a great relief. Abiding in the vision of the immutable self, a sage perceives the world as a painted picture on the canvas of consciousness. Another simile is given. You see a whole drama of tragedy or comedy expressing through in a cinema. But all that goes on, behind all that, there is simple screen. That screen is never touched. That screen is your awareness, consciousness. That consciousness, pure consciousness, called Chit, Chaitanya, that remains untouched. And with enlightenment, your identity is that supreme awareness. I am Satchit Ananda. I am existence, consciousness, bliss. All worldly activities appear to him like the actions of a wooden puppet. The world is viewed by him as a puppet show, including his own body. And the player behind this puppet is God himself. And that God is Brahman, the Absolute. Though appearing to be involved in actions, the soul is ever untouched and unaffected. A knower of the self does not expect anything in future, nor does he become attached to any object in the present, nor does he indulge in the memories of the past, present, and future. All have no impact. All this time experience is an illusion created by conditioned mind. Time is not a reality in itself. Yes, it's a reality to your clock. Every second is precise. But not reality to your mind or your consciousness. In a joyous state of experience, you see time flying. In a suspenseful state of your mind, time has become lame. It's limping. In the state of enlightenment, time vanishes. Though apparently accepting the changes caused by time, he is in reality ever established in the timeless Brahman. The life in the world continues just like all people live their life and their realities. But that should not restrict your mind from understanding that a sage is not described on the basis of appearances of his activities and his body, his speech. All that is not the sage. The sage is ever established in the timeless Brahman. Though seemingly asleep to the realities of the world, a sage is in fact ever awake to the reality of the self. But the ignorant are ever asleep in the night of illusion. Those seemingly awake to their practical realities of life, which are illusory. This again, very allegorical statement. You are always awake to a world which is like a mirage, and asleep to the reality that remains ever the same. Quoting the Gita, same teaching is given. Ya nisha sarva bhutani tasyam jagrati sanjami. That which is night to the masses. This revelation, all is Brahman. And Brahman is shining through every name and form. There is no room for pain, sorrow, and fear. This revelation is completely out of mind. For the masses, they are as if asleep, relating to this absolute reality. But what keeps the people in a state of wakefulness, things that are exciting to your mind. What constitutes the fabric of wakefulness? To that, a sage is absolutely asleep. An ignorant person becomes excited by a little thing has happened. He's awake to it. Sage hears it, he is asleep. What is the cause for this excitement? But that is experience. But he's in relations. A sage will deal with people in different ways, in an artistic way, with the intention of doing good, of awakening spiritual insight in others. That becomes the intention of a sage, which is spontaneous. Though seemingly asleep to the realities of the world, a sage is in fact ever awake to the reality of the self. But the ignorant are ever asleep in the night of illusion. You may again say, oh, I wake up now, I'm awake, I've been sleeping. Now I will handle this thing with alertness. All that has its relative value, I'm not ignoring. But all that is in the realm of Maya, illusion. What you can consider your wakefulness, you are still sleeping. You are not really awake. For an enlightened sage, all objects are perceived as the self. Therefore, though apparently associated with the objects of the world, a sage is ever free from desires and attachments. In practical world, a sage will appear the same way handling objects. If he takes tea, he has to take carefully so that it doesn't drop from his hand. He will do every detail. But in deeper level, all that is just Maya. All this doesn't matter. And from deeper point of view, he has no expectation, he doesn't live. Now today has been spoiled, tomorrow must be wonderful. This type of expectation doesn't exist. There is no yesterday, today and tomorrow. Eternity. Led by his prarabdha karma, a sage continues to perform his duties in daily life. But neither does he like a desired development, nor does he dislike an undesired development. This statement is always implying, and from internal point of view, from a practical reality, a sage would express his dislike if suddenly big rain has come while there was a trip arranged for him. It's a dislikable situation. And he will tell the people that it is unfortunate. But in his deeper level, he remains untouched. Scripture says, Patatyangar varshecha vati va balayanile. If burning embers were to shower, or suddenly things change. Sweet, gentle, fragrant breeze comes from sandalwood trees. In both stages, in the inner state of the sage is untouched, unaffected. That's the state of enlightenment. See, internally, subjectively, in profound root stage, the sage is Brahman. But that should not make people feel awed by sage. Among children, he acts like a child. So much so he begins to stammer to please the child. Among the old, he behaves like an old man. Among heroes, he expresses heroic qualities. Among the youthful, he acts as a youth. And among the miserable, he behaves like one afflicted with misery. Although outwardly he acts in different ways, inwardly he is ever established in the self. Though apparently agreeable towards his devotees and disagreeable towards his enemies, a sage is inwardly beyond the concepts of friend and foe. He is ever established in the self. And this gives you a subtle message of adapt, adjust in your daily life. I'll turn your attention to one of the humors of Akbar Birbal. Akbar was given once eggplant dish, which was new to him. And when he tasted, he liked it so much he overate it. But when he liked and he described how wonderful it is, Birbal said to him, "Oh, Your Majesty, that's why God has put a crown on its head." But next day, Akbar complained the whole night, he couldn't sleep, turmoil in his stomach. It's the worst thing he ever ate. Because Your Majesty, you were right. That's why God has hurled a nail on his head. Akbar said, "Didn't you say that God has put a crown on his head? And now you say it is a nail?" And Birbal says, I'm not employed by the eggplant. I'm employed by you. In other words, people, their sufferings, their reactions, when you deal with them to help them, your helping movement must follow the adapt and adjust process. Same thing that is commendable and advantageous in one situation, it is not advantageous in another situation. A sage, therefore, gives one type of instruction to one disciple, another type of instruction to another disciple. Outwardly, it seems he doesn't follow any consistent path. But that should not delude you. Sage is beyond it. Being beyond, there is a capacity to use a skill to help the person following his psychology. Certain information given to the person, if his psychology is immature, the sage will withdraw and use a different way of approach which to the other will appear something wrong. This art has to enter in one's life. A knower of the self does not indulge in vain talks about worldly matters. People will bring about all the news and politics and all worldly matters. A sage will use minimum response to all that. But when he is allowed to express himself, he will always bring out inspiring teachings that will uplift the masses. He employs his speech in glorifying the self or in explaining the secrets of the scriptures. If sage is addicted, he is addicted to scriptural teachings. His heart is never afflicted with the pettiness of egoistic vision. Ever beaming with bliss, he becomes a towering source of inspiration for others. All saints have gone through lots of tragic situations, lot of pain, terror, and all that. But in spite of all that, people read their stories and they're inspired. Especially the challenging situations they have faced. And they become, to the masses, source of inspiration. Ever cheerful and sweet in disposition, ever enveloped in the radiance of his own glory. His own glory is glory of Brahman. He is friendly towards all living beings. Matri Bhavana, Vishwamitra, the entire world is friendly. There is no enemy around. Jaako raake saanya maar nahi sake hain koi. Even if you have developed a bhakti level, that you are surrendered to God, you are in God's hand, then maar nahi sake hain koi. Your mind must understand that nothing in the world can touch you because you are protected by God's hand. Baal na baaka kar sake. Jo jag bairi hoye, if the entire world is against you, and yet they cannot touch you, they cannot even pinch and take away a hair from your body. So that type of internal stability is to be promoted. It's easily said. It takes a progressive movement, but that's the purpose of your life. He is ever serene, compassionate, generous, and magnanimous. He will never give an evaluation that you are so stupid, you will never attain liberation. But generous. No matter what you are Brahman. I offer adorations to you. His cooling touch alleviates the scorching misery of the world process. Touch is not limited to physical. His cooling touch means his influence. He touches the hearts of people. And that's a cooling touch. Touched by sagely goodwill. It's a profound blessing for the devotees. He shines like the lustrous moon. And their simile, he's like the moon. All the moon is showering nectarine rays over the world. nourishing all plants, etc. Sage is like that moon. It's overflowing with the nectar of wisdom. And what showers from the moon? Nectar of wisdom. Real nourishment to every individual. Sugandhim pushti vardhanam. And with this we conclude. And my prayer that may divine grace turn this virus, the overpowering fear, into karuna ras, the nectar of divine compassion. And when you have karuna ras, there is no bhaya. The whole world becomes God's expression of God. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Hari Om Tat Sat.